How does a medium realize they're medium? In this video, I'm sharing my story about how I realized my mediumistic abilities, plus the moment that I knew this would be my life's work. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell. That way you'll know every time I post a new video. You'll get to watch video recordings of my readings and more how-to about communicating with spirit. After countless readings, no matter how much I worried that I was going crazy or making things up in my imagination, the evidence becomes pretty indisputable when you hear, yes, that's true, after just about every piece of information that you bring through during readings. How it all started, I was watching a Netflix series and there was an episode about a famous medium, Laura Lynn Jackson. I just know that I had what felt to me like a very bizarre experience of remembering. It was like I was watching what she was doing and remembering something that I had done a long time ago and that I knew how to do. I guess I could describe it as some sort of deja vu. It seemed really strange, so I just let that go. It did inspire me to get back to meditation, a practice I had done very regularly before my daughter was born, and since becoming a parent, had a lot less time to do. My husband Rob had started traveling for work, and so I had these evenings where once my daughter went to bed, time was mine and I was alone and in private. And this is the time when I would start to just meditate, and I had an experience where I felt the presence of both my maternal and paternal grandmothers, both of which who have passed. It really felt like there was a hand in each of my hands, and my paternal grandmother, who I hadn't spoken to for the 7 years before she passed, really felt like she was saying to me in my mind, I know you're not asking for forgiveness, but I understand why you didn't want to speak to me. I understand that I was a really hard person to be around, and I love you, and I'm not upset. I was completely overwhelmed with emotion. I just sobbed for a good 10-15 minutes. I also felt embarrassed. I kept asking myself, why are you making things up? Are you trying to get attention? You don't have anything to prove. Why are you doing this? It was only a couple weeks later when I felt the presence of another past spirit who was in connection to a dear friend of mine. That really overwhelmed me. Without betraying any confidence, there were some very specific details that came through and were later confirmed. At this point, I was starting to feel really scared, really uncomfortable. I worked up the courage to share what was happening with my husband, who is an atheist. He was, as usual, really supportive. He didn't have to believe in mediumship to believe in me. For me, that was plenty. But I still felt really skeptical. During this time, I also started reading as much as I could and watching different TV series about mediums to try to gather information and see if I could figure out what was happening to me. I was reading a book and I started to get this feeling that perhaps I had clairaudient abilities. So I made the decision to search out 2 different mediums. One, I got via referral. Another one, I just Googled to see where's the best rated medium living the closest to where I live. I remember sitting down with the first medium I hired, sharing zero information and just seeing if I could get some kind of validation. First, she asked me if my paternal grandmother had been trying to talk to me a lot in the last month, and then she said, do you know that your clairaudience is off the charts? I sat with the second medium who brought through the same spirit that I had felt visiting me. What she told me was that this spirit was there to help validate the experiences that I'd been having and questioning. And I still felt like this was really wild, that I might very well be making this up. While this validation of sorts was quite mind-blowing, at the same time, I really wasn't convinced. But I remember talking to one of the mediums and saying to her, are spiritual communications really, really subtle? She laughed and said, yeah, they really are, especially when you're first coming into your gifts. At this point, I was really wanting desperately to find some kind of solid proof that what was happening to me was actually real. I reached back out to one of the mediums that I had hired. I said, what am I supposed to do with this? She suggested that I just try it out. I sit down with a complete stranger and see if I can bring through a past loved one and do it accurately. I did have a complete stranger to my house. I knew her first name, met her from a friend. She sat down on the couch and I remember saying to her, I know this is really wild, explaining the story and saying, I think we're just gonna sit here for 10 minutes in silence. Then you can go home. I don't know how much time passed. I'm guessing 30 minutes or so. I knew that her maternal grandmother was present, that her maternal aunt was present. I knew how both of them passed. I knew within 3 years the timing of their passing. I knew that her aunt had left 2 daughters behind. I saw the end of life goodbyes that were given to her aunt in the hospital. I saw a necklace with her grandmother's wedding ring on it that she wears. I saw a kind of shawl that was at her house at that moment that still smelled of her grandmother. By the end of the reading, I was in tears. This woman was in tears. We were both just blown away. I remember seeing Rob come down the stairs from his office and look at me and say, "Are you okay?" I think I was silent, a little speechless, and then I said something like, "You are not gonna believe what just happened." For me, it was this moment where everything that I had ever suspected about life felt like it was coming true. But then it was another really overwhelming moment where I realized how many things I didn't know that were likely true about how this world works and the next. I just remember feeling like I'd had 15 cups of coffee, just trying so hard to come down from that experience. I turned on my Pandora. I'm not cool enough to have Spotify. Spirit in the Sky came on. I'm sure to some people that would seem like a coincidence, but I just knew in that moment that my whole team of guides and helpers were rejoicing and cheering me on. She's arrived. That moment after that reading, feeling this vote of confidence from my spirit guides and my team, I just knew that this was going to be my life's work. Do you have a moment where you got a reading from a medium and it just blew your mind? Leave a comment below. Or perhaps you're coming into your own abilities and you were able to bring through evidence or have a moment of synchronicity that really lets you know this is real. In my previous life, in this lifetime, I was an online marketing strategist. Very masculine, very left brain. I would actually say that's still true today. But I remember getting a reading with someone I'll call an energy worker. And at that point in time, I think this was 2017, I didn't really even feel comfortable with the idea that I was getting a reading or having a session with an energy worker. And my business was really doing well. And I remember her saying to me, basically, I didn't want to keep running this business. What I really wanted was this deep feeling of connection with other people. That was my ultimate purpose in life. It did not go over well. I hardly got through the end of the session because I was so livid. It was a threat to my identity at the time and what I'd become really comfortable knowing myself as. It was probably a month later that I was terrified because I realized what she said was true. I felt my passion for what I was doing dwindling. In 2018, I hosted my last live event for that business. And by 2019, I was in the process of shutting down the business. I know now this is what she was talking about. Mediumship is about how connected we all are, the love that is between us in this world and the next. Never have I felt that true desire in me is so alive. Sometimes it's hard to hear the truth, and sometimes the truth doesn't even make sense for years later. If you've had your own experience of being spiritually awakened or feeling that deep connection, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're interested in strengthening your clairs so that you can speak to spirit, download my free guide below. It's called 3 Easy Exercises to Strengthen Your Clairs and Speak to Spirit. Be sure to check out this video next. If you like the video, give me a like, leave me a comment. Please, please tell me what you enjoyed the most about my story of coming into my mediumistic abilities. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell, then you'll get notified whenever I post a new video.